at, but I'll turn my camera on for just a moment. I got my patriotic shirt on today, so I want to thank you again for joining me for this webinar, and I'll try to be as brief as I can. Any of you that know I'm a talker, so restraining me for 30 minutes is pretty tough to do, but I'm kind of like a cross-eyed discus thrower. I don't set any records, but I keep the crowd alive. So I'm going to try to keep you alive, and if you've got a comment or anything, please go to the chat line, make a little note there. I am going to be recording this, and we are going to send out to each one that has joined today this video presentation in a PDF format, so you will be able to refer to it. I will go by a lot of pages and a lot of content, so I don't expect you to retain every bit of it, but let's do the best that we can and gain from this. And you'll have my email and my telephone number. And if we need to do a follow-up or make a comment or a question, certainly that's going to be open. So let me just get me out of the way and I'll start with the presentation. All right, quick overview. We're going to talk just for a moment about the Colonial Group products. Then we're going to introduce Tower Hill's new program on the DP3. And then we're going to talk just briefly about the ways to quote and bind business with the Colonial Group, and then I'll open it up for a quick chat. Again, the presentation will be emailed to you. You love the shirt. Okay, thank you, Zachary. I appreciate that. I'll try to keep a lookout. This is just information that will be in the PDF, so you'll have that to reference to. It's just some important telephone numbers and contact information for the Colonial Group. Some of our favorite markets on the personal line side: manufactured homes, mobile homes, dwelling fire, vacant, boats, personal umbrellas, flood, and homeowners. By the way, before I get too far, I want to ask the first quiz. I don't know if I'll do any others, but if you want to comment, I would love to see what people think the Colonial Group used to be called, what our name before we changed it, and this was back several decades, what we changed to the Colonial Group, what our name was prior to the Colonial Group. If you can think of it and go ahead and put that in the chat. It's just a trivia. That's all it is. Commercial lines, again, we are a property and or liability company. We're supporting the industry. Christy, no idea, huh? Habitation. You guys remind me before we get off of this, and I'll make sure that I remember to tell you. No, it wasn't American Reliable, Dana. Thank you for participating. So on the commercial or personal lines, if it's property and or liability, we're probably interested in it. So habitational, artisan contractors, lessors risk, retail, professional lines, workers' compensation. We do vacant on commercial lines as well, flood and commercial umbrella. So and much more that I would bore you to tears. So I don't want to do that, but much more available to you here at the Colonial Group. But just bear in mind that if it's property and or liability, we're probably interested. Now, many of you have probably seen our website, www.thecolonialgroup.com. If you put the HTTPS in there, it will make sure it gets here. At one point, we had a little bit of an issue, but I think that's all squared away. If you do have an issue, please reach out to me, and I'll be glad to help you with that. I'm looking at some of the comments. Mutual accident. No, I don't think that was what we were called in American Oil Company. No, I don't believe that's what we were called either, but keep trying. I love it. That's pretty interesting. So we have a website, and up at the top right-hand side of the website, that's where you get into our dashboard where it says sign on right there at the top right-hand side. That's how you get into being able to quote and do that kind of stuff. Ding, 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 ding. We have a winner. Kevin Carton, Mobile Home Insurance Services. That's what we used to be called back in the 60s and 70s and 80s. That's correct, Kevin. You win. Wonderful, great job. Did you Google it? All right, let's go on. So that's where you get to do some quoting online and that kind of stuff. All right, when you get into the dashboard, this is going to automatically go to our services where you can pick up some quote forms and that kind of stuff. But you'll see Tower Hill listed as an icon. And we're going to talk about Tower Hill, but several of them are listed right there. This particular one shows dwelling fire, and it's several of the companies that do dwelling fire. But today we're going to focus a little bit more on Tower Hill. So the intro for Tower Hill, their appetite is a little different than some of the standard preferred carriers. A lot of theirs is going to be where you have a primary insurer, the homeowner, and then you have a dwelling fire as an accompaniment to it. They don't do just monoline DP. All of our policies here at the Colonial Group are monoline, so you don't have to have any other uh, pieces of business with that insured. I will say this: some of the companies give like an auto discount if you have the auto in the insurance agency. But anyhow, this is just a chart that shows that they're different than a lot of the national insurers for a DP. And again, you're going to have this in a PDF in your inbox in your email, and so you'll be able to refer back to this. The DP3. Hopefully, you'll be able to see this. If you can't see it, you'll have this in a PDF. You can look at it a little bit closer. They want a decent home, above average. Or better condition. Now they've got a DP1 program that they can do maybe a little bit less than the above average home. But this program, the Dwelling Fire DP3, I'm talking about right now. At the top, you can see it's North Carolina. We're going to cover the Alabama and Louisiana for those of you who have joined from one of those other states. There's very little difference, but I do want to mention that at the top of this overview, you can see that this is talking about the North Carolina. So the North Carolina, we are a rate bureau state, a little different than a lot of the other states, and they are pretty restrictive on these insurance companies. And so they've made this work on a DP3. By the way, it could possibly be in not too distant future that we are able to get an HO3 from Tower Hill. Right now, all we have for the owner occupied is going to be the DP3. And then if you have an owner occupied that doesn't qualify for the DP3, Tower Hill is going to be a DP1 if it doesn't qualify for the DP3. Owner occupied seasonal rental, $75,000 for the minimum. They will write a seasonal up to $1 million. If it's an owner occupied or rental unit, they'll go up to $750,000. Again, this is North Carolina. Replacement cost is available. Actual cash value and functional replacement cost is also an optional availability. Now, I don't know why you would want a DB3 with actual cash value, but it is an offering and it is available if you would like that. Homes must be 80 years or newer. They're going to do the replacement cost. Their guideline is around 30 years and newer. They can do maybe a little bit more than that, but that's what they're going to be looking for on the full replacement cost. That's where you get into the functional replacement cost if you're older than 30, 40 years, something like that. Homes must be, again, the maximum is going to be 80 years and newer, 1 to 4 family homes. So if you have a duplex, triplex, or quadruplex, you can write those in the program. Up to 3 stories high. They do have some areas that are wind and hail restricted, and I think there's a slide here that we will look at it. But here in North Carolina, I believe it's 3 miles inland at least minimum. Then you can get to the wind. If it's 3 miles or closer to the water, I believe that's where the wind and hail restriction exclusion is going to apply. Open peril coverage is included. Water damage. You've got liability up to $500,000, and then it's got VM&M as well. The deductibles 1,000, 2,500, 5,000, and 10,000. By the way, I will say that some of that is coded into the quoting. So if it doesn't work one way, it'll tell you why it won't work, and then you can change the deductibles and make it work a different way. Okay. And multiple claims are considered. That's pretty cool. Again, we're a specialty insurance company, a little bit more flexible than your standard preferred markets, and that makes it wonderful. The lapse in coverage is also considered. So lapse in coverage could be, I think, 30 days, 60 days, something like that. I'd have to look at it, and I think I might even have a slide coming up that will specify how long a lapse is included. All right, everybody wants to know about roofs. Every company, it's a big, big issue here in North Carolina. So Tower Hill has gone through and revamped their roof guidelines, and they're becoming much more flexible. If it's the HO3, DP3, and mobile home loss settlement up to 14 years, it's going to automatically be replacement cost. If it goes 15 to 20 years, the roof's going to be ACV. And then if it's over 21 years, it's not going to be eligible. Now, I'm looking at this and I'm kind of curious. I can't remember. I think I've quoted over 20 years on a mobile home, and I'm kind of curious about that. But the software will tell you whether they can do it or not. If it falls outside of it or you got a question, you can reach out to our quote team or me, and we'll be more than glad to check into it if you've gone through a quote and you want to find out more about it. But you're going to have access to this. This is going to be in the PDF. You'll be able to see this. If it's a metal roof, of course, they allow for longer times. And then the DP1 is much more flexible. Okay. But you'll have this. DP3 characteristics in Alabama and Louisiana. Again, they're looking for the average to better condition. They will do short-term rental. By the way, on the other side, they will do a short-term rental as well. Short-term rental, occasional rental is acceptable. Owner-occupied in Louisiana only. Seasonal and rental, $75,000 minimum. This is very similar to what we were looking at in North Carolina. And like I said, they're very similar programs. Seasonal up to $1 million, rental up to $750,000. Replacement cost, loss settlement, and then you've got the same as the other one, the actual cash value, except for they throw in the full repair, and you get bonus points today if you know what full repair is. Many of you have already talked to me before about full repair. When it's an ACV policy and they throw on the full repair, what are they full repairing? How is that different from a replacement cost? If you want to throw that in the chat, I'll make a comment. Homes must be 80 years or newer, 1 to 4 families. These are similar. Up to 3 stories accepted, and coastal is acceptable in these programs. Open peril coverage, same as North Carolina. The water damage coverage is included. Liability up to 500, yeah, very similar. Available up to owner occupied. VM&M is included, and then they have several different deductibles for wind and hail down in Louisiana and Alabama. Okay. Prior claims, they do consider those as well. All right. Anybody got the idea on the full repair yet? Make comment for me. All right, here's the roof guidelines. Again, these are going to be very, very similar. I will make a little bit of a comment here on the RMPS. Many of you are probably not familiar with that, but it is a graduated scale. So in other words, it's an ACV, or if it's a 25-year-old roof or 30-year-old roof, it depreciates so much, and they've got a scale that they will pay depending on how old it is. That's what the RMPS is. Okay. All right, let's go to the next one. Any questions yet? Nobody? Have I put you to sleep? I got to tell another joke. I putting you to sleep. There we go. What is full repair? So Ashley doesn't know. Anybody else know? I will tell you. All right, before I go any further, let me go ahead with this full repair. Wait a minute, restores pre-damage condition. That's pretty true. Agreed repair cost. No, it's not that. All right, so here's the easiest way for my brain to understand full repair. So if it's a total loss, if the home's a total loss, it's going to be settled at ACV if it's an ACV policy. But if you have full repair, let's say that you have a $200,000 house and the kitchen catches fire and does $20,000 worth of damage. Is it a total loss? No. So it's not a total loss. So it's not going back to the ACV. It's going to be a full repair. So it's very similar in that respect to a replacement cost. Now, I'm not saying it's a replacement cost, it's full repair. So they're going to put it back in to pre-damage condition, like Danielle said. So they restore the partial loss to pre-damage condition. Thank you, Danielle. That was right. All right, very good. You guys are smart as a whip. You can teach me a thing or two. I have a question about 30-year shingles in North Carolina. How do you explain why the carrier won't cover a 30-year shingle in the case of a loss? Ah, wonderful. That is the question of the century. So I it's hard to prove a 30-year shingle. They have a 50-year shingle now that's wind rated. I've seen that, and that is really how you can say, well, you're going to have to replace your roof in 15 years in, or 16 or 18 years in, when you spent the money for a 50-year roof. I can't really get too deep into this, but yeah, I agree. How do they? Why won't they cover a 30-year in case of a loss? Yeah, I agree. I can't. It's hard to prove the 30-year, but if they had the 30-year, that's why they're going to these ACB and graduated that uh, what I was telling you a moment ago, the RMPS. There's a graduated scale for depending on the age of it. So you remember the RMPS that I was talking about right here, where it says ACB or RMPS. That's where they will depreciate it for the life of the shingle. But yeah, I get it. When is it coming to North Carolina? When enough agents pitch a fit to the North Carolina Rate Bureau to where we get it. I don't know. Right now, the Rate Bureau says no. So we don't have it. As a matter of fact, they won't even let you do an ACB endorsement in North Carolina. It's tough. It's tough. North Carolina has got to allow some of these things to happen so that we can get the homeowner programs going in the right direction. I like the idea of the RMPS, and it seems like maybe some of you like that as well. All right, let's move on down to the credit and discounts. By the way, the questions are good. Thank you for them, and I appreciate you putting that in there. It means it breaks it up. I would actually rather it be open mic, and if you've got a question, ask me, but it just sometimes doesn't work very well. But anyway, they do have some discounts. If you have, I can tell you some of the bigger, more discounted discounts, and that is auto policy in the agency. If your agency writes their auto, we give the bundle credit. That's a big one. Paid in full. Now, that's not by the lender, that is by the insured. If they pay it in full, then that is a big discount as well. Everybody forgets to ask about protective devices. Ask your insureds about if they've got a central fire and burglar alarm, because that is a good discount, but hardly ever anybody gets those discounts. So be sure to ask that. All right, here are a few pages that I'm going to go through very, very quickly. I'm not really going to comment much on them. I'm just going to kind of put them up there so that you can kind of glance at it. But when you get the PDF, if you have a question, feel free to reach out to me. It's talking about the animal liability exclusion, which dogs are excluded. Other structural exclusions, that would be more for an outbuilding that is not quite up to snuff and in a poor condition. Roof exclusion, again, those kind of kick you back to the DP1 program. And then the wind and hail exclusion. And you can see where 3 miles on the North Carolina side, 3 miles to the coastline. Alabama is 3 miles to the coastline, and Louisiana is 3 miles to the coastline. Again, you're going to have this. All right, additional underwriting, multiple fire and theft and water losses. That's going to be a consideration. They're going to have to find out. A lot of times when we get a water loss claim and we're trying to provide insurance for them, they're going to want to know what happened and what have they done. Has it been repaired? What happened? And what have they done to prevent it from happening again? And an underwriter really likes to know what happened and what have they done to prevent it from happening again. Clue report exclusion, homes that have been uninsured 30. There it is. Ding, 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 ding. Remember, we were talking about that a while ago. How long a lapse is possible, and they can go up to a 90-day lapse. It has to be underwritten, and again, they're going to want to know, what happened. How did? Yeah, one of the things that I found out is back during COVID, they're very flexible when somebody had to go to the hospital and was in the hospital, just now got out of the hospital and then didn't realize that they had not paid the bill. So, there are some extenuating circumstances that you can get insurance coverage with an admitted carrier when they've had a lapse in coverage. Previously non-renewed, you can read the rest of these. I don't want to bore everybody. I think everybody's quit commenting. I hope I'm not putting you to sleep. Some underwriting exceptions. Now, when you're quoting inside the system, there are going to be these boxes on the left-hand side of the page when there's action required or if it's ineligible for submission. If you see that, just read it. It doesn't necessarily mean that they won't write it. Okay. So be sure to read what it is and then click on it if you need to. And then if you really are struggling to know what they want or what you can do to fix it or whatever, then you can reach out to us and sometimes we can help you explain it. And by the way, I want to mention this. Tower Hill, I was talking to the management yesterday, and they track every call that comes into their 800 number. And after the first ring, 80% of the time, the phone is answered within 30 seconds. That's pretty impressive. So if you have a question, if you have an underwriting question, they're going to want to know that you went into the program and we're trying to quote it and have a quote number. And if you've done that and you've got a question about it, feel free to call them and they're going to answer it really, really quick. Consumer reports, all about consumer reports. You got to get permission and all that kind of stuff. So we order that automatically, but you have to get permission from the insured to do that. Here's a few of the takeaways. Take your time whenever you get the PDF and go over each one of these. If you've got a question, reach out to me. These are on there. Oh, let me admit this one, Darden Insurance. Okay, there you go. All right, Darden Insurance, you can go to the chat line and introduce yourself. Just say hello or that you can hear me. That's fine. All right, so we'll move on to the next one. All right, so this is more back to the Colonial Group now. And what is the best way for a person to get a quote with the Colonial Group? Well, that really depends on what you need. Okay, so you almost always, well, I'd say every time you're getting ready to quote, I would always quote one with one of the quote forms that we have and fill the whole thing out. I'll tell you, most people forget their quote, their agency number. You want credit, you want commission, put your agency number in there. your telephone number, the name of the insured, their address, their prior address if it's a new piece of business. Complete the form as much as you possibly can, and then you can decide which way you want to go from there. So, number one, if you need an answer now and you don't know which company to go to, call the quote team. It's our 800 number. Press 2 for personal lines, 3 for commercial lines. That's the best way to do it. But have the quote form completed. That way you can go right straight through the quote in 5 minutes, and they know they're going to know which company to put you with, and it'll be prompt. If you're flexible on time, you might say, well, Jeff, I'm never flexible on time. Yeah, sometimes it does happen. You'll have an insured that will say, I got a renewal coming up at the end of September. It's August now. I want to check, see if you've got another, company that might beat the rate or provide me better coverage, less coverage, more coverage, whatever the case may be. You might have some flexibility. If you do, you're welcome to complete one of the quote forms and send it to info@thecolonialgroup.com. And then you should get a quote back within 1 to 2 business days. If it comes to me, typically I'm able to do it within that first business day, almost always, and sometimes even quicker than a day. All right. And then the third way, you are in control. You have a single sign on and you can go to the software and then do the quote. I want to show you just for a moment. Let me show you the single sign on inside our system. Here's our system. If you click on where it says single sign on here, and then you log in, this would say log in. I've already logged in for today. And you continue to the portal, it automatically takes you to services. And here's the forms. If you launch this, there are some quote forms in there. And you can click on the most appropriate quote form. And it should be the most current quote form that we have available. Okay. We get back here. I'm almost done, and we can ask any other questions that we need. So if you've got, if like in North Carolina right now, I don't have an admitted carrier for an HO3, but I do have the DP3 with Tower Hill now. It started August the 1st. So you can, if you know that that's my only company that's going to be admitted, you can go right into our website, go right into, wait a minute, am I sharing? I'm not sharing my screen. I'm sorry. Let me go back here. There we go. All right, sorry about that. You can go right back into the single sign-on, to the dashboard, to the personal lines, to Tower Hill. Click in there and go in there, and you can rate it yourself. If you know that's the only one and you want to do it yourself, you don't want to have to go anywhere else, you can do that yourself. Okay. All right. 20, almost ready to bind. This is the last slide before any future questions. Has all the underwriting been done? So if you're ready to bind, you got to ask yourself a few questions. If it's a coastal piece of property in Louisiana, Alabama, North Carolina, if it's a coastal piece of property and it's X wind, has that form been completed and sent to submissions at thecolonialgroup.com for approval? That underwriting needs to have been done. Or if there was an underwriting alarm that came into the system. Do you have a lien holder? Do you know who it is? Has that been submitted? Do you need a pay plan, escrow, or is it paid in full? Are there pictures needed? Is there a statement of no loss needed? Has all of that stuff been submitted? Most likely, these questions need to be answered before you're getting ready to bind or the pay plan. So all that has to be submitted, and then you're ready to go. All right, that's it. That's my program. Any questions? I haven't seen any questions in a few minutes here. Any questions, or did I really explain it all that well? What is Tower Hill's inspection process? Sarah, I'm not really sure. I know what you're talking about there. They do inspect. Well, actually, all right. So they have not been inspecting, but with this newer, thank you, Tammy. This newer program that they're doing, they're getting into the inspection business, and that will loosen up some of these tight guidelines. And I think that's coming in December. I don't think we're there yet. Right now, they're not they're not doing it. I don't know about third party inspections. I would think that it would be a third party inspection. I would guess that it would be. It's pretty hard to have staff for inspections. But typically, what happens is a call is made and an appointment, or at least an acknowledgement that they're going to come out and inspect. Good question, Sarah. Any others? Well, you have been an absolutely fantastic crowd. I really do appreciate you. I will leave you with one last funny. How do trees connect to the internet? How do trees connect to the internet? They log in. All right, very good. Well, you guys have a great day. And if you need me, give me a call and I'll be more than glad to help in any way that I can. You're going to get an email from me with the PowerPoint presentation, and I'll be glad to help you any way I can. All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.